You know that stock I've been telling you to buy, KGC, it's 23.20, looking good. Small price gold company, 23.20. Not bad, huh? Bonds are at 118. Lower interest rates are coming. Hey, Jonathan, see what we're going to do here. Can you hear me okay, Jonathan?
Hey, Tom, I can hear you. YouTube got going about a minute ago, so maybe we give another 2 minutes or so.
Okay.
Going.
You know, Google's been looking real good. It's a 242 right now and looking good. That utility trade out of futures keeps on paying. Hello, Deborah. Debbie. It's interesting how the moneymaker said that gold was going to be a flat day. It sure has been flat. If you look at gold, GLD, 35 to 33. Said diamond was going to be extraordinarily strong. It's had a heck of a day, the diamond has. Yeah, Frank, you can do the XSP, absolutely. And everybody heard me say that all these weekly payers were in buy areas for this month. Y'all heard that, didn't you? Claire, the next stop will be 245 on Google. And then after that, I use GOOG. I'm an old fashioned, I like trading GOOG. I know it's what Google L now or something. I don't know. Rob, the weekly payers, that's YieldMax, ETFs.com, and RoundtreeInvestments.com if you want to go get a list of all the stocks that qualify. Oh, man. I like both of them. I like Rob. I like Roundtree for stocks like Nvidia, Palantir, and I like Yield Max for other issues. One pays on Tuesday, the other one pays on Friday. All right, let's get started. Past performance is not indicative of future results. In my opinion, market strong. My next target on the S&P is 6605. Write that number down. 6605 is my next target on the S&P. All right, we're going to review the Delta 50 options trading. With you, this is a strategy that I use for futures and stocks. Jonathan, I'm gonna let you cover this.
Yeah, so the question is what is delta? And delta is really the option Greeks are pretty fancy. You don't want to get into too much of them, but delta is a good one. It tells us how much an option will move, roughly for every 1 point move in the underlying stock. So what this adds up to, if you go look at the option chain, which we'll do in a little bit, you're going to see the closest strike to the current price is called an at the money option. Generally, that's around a 50 delta. It might say 0.50 on your platform, or it might say 50 depending on the brokerage platform. But the 50 delta options are right around the current price, that whatever the strike is, right around the current price. And what happens is, for every 1 point move in the underlying stock, if you hold everything constant, let's say the SPY moves up 1 point in the next 5-10 minutes. Well, if you buy a 50 delta option, you're going to make 50 cents off of that. Like call option, if you bought a 50 delta call option, you would make 50 cents off of that move. So if you paid $1 for an option, and very quickly for a 50 delta option, call option, very quickly the underlying stock, in this case the SPY, if it goes up $1 in 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes, well, you turn that $1 option into $1.50, so you book a 50% profit. Now, that's a very, very simple, education example of what 50 delta means.
Why don't you test it? Give an example and see if they give you the right answer.
Okay, let me think of another hypothetical example. Let's say you bought a 50 delta call option, and in a reasonable amount of time, the stock goes up $3. If the stock goes up $3, about how much would a 50 delta option go up? That's right, $1.50. How about if the stock goes up $10? How much would a delta 50 go up? All right, $5. Now, the cool part about delta 50 options, there's something called a stock equivalent option strategy. And basically, when you buy 100 shares of stock, you have a delta exposure of 100. And most people don't talk about that when they're talking about buying shares of stock, but that's essentially what you have. If you buy shares of stock, you have a delta exposure of 100. Why? Because when a stock goes up 1 point, you make 1 point. When a stock goes down 1 point, you lose 1 point. So a stock position always has a delta exposure of 100 if you have 100 long shares. The option strategy that's considered a delta 100 equivalent or a stock equivalent replacement is buying 2 of the 50 delta options. When you buy 2 50 delta options, you have 100 delta of net exposure. Now, what does that mean? We just said that if you bought a 50 delta option and the stock goes up 10 points, that option should go up about 5. So if you bought 2 50 delta options and say the stock goes up 5 points, how much would your delta in this case delta 100 option strategy go up? If you had two at the money options, each were 50 delta, so you had 100 net delta exposure and long call options, and then the underlying stock goes up 5 points, would you make $100 on your options, two and a half, $250, or $500? That's right, you'd make $5 or $500 on your two options. Now, there's one distinction with options and your delta exposure there that actually there's two distinctions. I said a moment ago that with a 100 share stock position, if the stock goes up 1 point, you make 1 point. And if the stock goes down 1 point, you lose 1 point. The neat thing about options and delta exposure is, and let's go to the option chain to show you this real quick. If I look at a call option on the SPY expiring September 19th, the price of the SPY is 657.61. If you look here on the platform, it says it has a 53 delta. Actually, let's use this one right here because it has a 49 delta closer to 50. That's the at the money option. And if I bought two of them, I'd not have 49 delta exposure, I'd have 98 delta exposure. But look what happens when you go further up the option chain. And further up the option chain this way would mean that your call option is getting further and further in the money. So if I take this 658 call option and we assume that the underlying stock goes up 5 points, well, if we're trading at 657 and a half and the at the money strike is 658, and then we make the assumption that the SPY goes from 657 up 5 points to 662, well, at that point, the at the money strike would be the 662. But in order for us to kind of think ahead about how much our option could be worth, we have to shift this up to the 653. Now, that might be confusing. Just think about this again. If the current at the money strike is a 658, but then we make the assumption that the SPY goes up 5 points, at that point, the 658 call would be 5 more points in the money. And so if we look at the current timestamp, what strike is 5 more points in the money from the 658 right now? That is the 653. So the 653 call right at this moment is 5 more points in the money than the 658. So we can use the 653 as a reference point. And two things. One, you can see that the 653 call is priced at 7.25 or so, which would be a nice bump up from the 395, which it currently is. You'll also see that it doesn't have a 50 delta, it has a 66 delta. I'm showing you all this because as options get further and further in the money, their delta increases. Or maybe more accurately speaking, as the stock moves more and more in your favor, the deltas of the call options start to increase. So if you did a delta 50 option strategy and you bought two of them, so your delta exposure was 100, if your timing is good and the market moves in your favor, you're actually going to make more money buying the two options than you would make if you were just long 100 shares of stock. That's because your delta exposure actually increases. It also means that you would lose less money than owning 100 shares of stock if the underlying stock moves against you. Because as the options get further and further out of the money, delta's going down. The one caveat with all this is that options have expiration. So if you're going to do this strategy officially as a stock equivalent, option strategy, you got to give yourself enough time so that time value, which is called theta, which we definitely don't want to get into, but that's going to hurt you if you don't have enough time to expiration. So someone asked a great question. Could you buy 4 of the 25 delta exposure? You could. You could. Another caveat though, the further and further out of the money you get, the better your timing has to be. So to add delta to the tastytrade platform, across the top here, and I'll show you the route that I know how to do this, you got available kind of data points that you're able to change. I think 3, it depends on the size of your screen size, I believe, but I've got delta on 1. Now, if I wanted to change the low price, the low print of the day to delta, let's just assume that this delta is not here, but I wanted to change the low delta or low data point to delta. Just click on low, and simply from the list of drop down, it has them all there for you. Click delta, and it brings up the delta of the option. And once you change one side, it changes the other as well. Change it back there. And over on Thinkorswim, bring that up. Let's see, let's use the same example, September 19th. You see at the top, actually Tom showed me this yesterday, the day before. I usually just change this little icon here. It allows you to change it to whatever you want. But up here a little further, it actually has kind of set, the Thinkorswim platform has presets that you can click on. So I think by default, this is set to probably, I'm not sure what it's set to, but maybe last and net change by default, I believe. And you can toggle it over to delta, gamma, theta, vega, and it'll add those. And here's your delta column over here. And if you can't find that button, you can also just click on any of these boxes that have a little arrow pointing down. By default, there's 2 of them. Probably don't want to change the last traded price, but net change, you can click on it, scroll over option, theoreticals and Greeks, and find delta that way. But honestly, the little trick that Tom showed me the other day is probably easier. Just click the data set up top you want, go to delta, get the Greeks on there, and you're off and running. So let's go back to the slides. And that was actually the next slide to show you a live look in on how to find delta on Thinkorswim and tastytrade. We've done that. So the next question comes in is, we looked at that 50 delta option on the SPY, and it was about $4. Well, what if you were a, very, very small account and couldn't afford to buy an option that was $4? You can go to Tom's Delta 10 strategy. What that is you take the 50 delta option, which you're buying, and you go out and you sell a 40 delta option against it. Now, if you're buying a 50 delta option, that's 50 long delta exposure. If you turn around and sell a delta 40 option against it, you're getting short 40 delta. What's the net of 50 long delta minus 40 short delta? You get a net of 10 delta. All right, 10 delta.
Which means if it goes up $1, how much does the option increase in value? Right, 10 cents.
Or $10 if you're on a 1 contract basis. So you lower, it does 2 things. And I'll just go up to tastytrade and show you that. It does two things. One, there's your 49 delta. Let's go find a 39 delta. Let's see, for this example in the SPY, we could sell like the 40.37 against it. You have a 12 delta exposure for this live example, but that's very, very similar. So it does two things. One, you'll notice the cost of the 50 delta call is $4, but when we sell the 661 call against it, our risk goes down to $1.50. So your risk goes down. Your delta exposure also goes down, which means you won't get paid as fast if your timing is accurate, but you also won't lose nearly as much if your timing is inaccurate, right? You do cap your upside potential. It's a 3-wide spread in this example. So you could turn $1.50 into $3, which is still double your money. Any questions on what we've showed you today? We've gone very, very meticulous step by step on showing you all this. I think we went a little faster last time. It's always good to review this information. Some other times where you might consider going with the Delta 10 or, a Delta strategy with a spread opposite a long call is if you had a target in mind for a stock that you didn't expect it to get there very quickly, but you still had a target in mind. You could always sell the top side strike at your target. Now, again, let me just say this. If you have good timing on any option trade, long option trade, you will get paid faster and more just by buying an outright call option. But when it comes to overnight trading, great question, Barbara. A lot of times you're going to be of much greater benefit to go into the overnight option with a spread on because now you're hedged for overnight movement. Tom says this all the time. He doesn't like to go into the overnight hours without some kind of hedge, especially if you don't trade in the futures market. It's going to get better soon when you're able to trade overnight, fully overnight, whenever that comes along. But when you don't have a way to trade and hedge during the overnight hours, the way to hedge going into the overnight hours is to turn your long calls into call spreads. All right, any questions on all this? Any questions on all this? This is the very, very basics of what Delta 50 is and Tom's Delta 10. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Tom for him to show you really an exciting program that Tom has developed in strategy over the last year or two. Tom, back to you.
Yeah, we talked about big economic reports. Well, you've heard me say this a bunch. There's 5 big economic reports a month. Unemployment, which is usually the first week. Then you have CPI and PPI, which is normally the middle of the month. And you finish it off with GDP and PCE. Now, that's 5 big economic reports. What you need to know is if you're an option seller, you have to know the time of those reports because that's when you're going to get the big move out of the ordinary on those reports. A miss or a beat or something like that, it's very huge movement that goes on in the market. So one of the big issues people have, they get used to selling options, which I do, and they forget about these big reports that can change the deck, regardless of what's happening. And so you got to know those reports each and every month. So far this month, we've had 3 reports. We've had the unemployment report. We've had CPI and PPI this week. So we've had 3 of the 5 reports this week. Now there's another report you got to be aware of, and that is the Fed meeting. That happens 8 times a year, and this month is one of those 8 times. Next week at 2 o'clock, there'll be an announcement made. Does everybody know the announcement we're talking about? It's on interest rates. That is a big report when the Fed meets. In the press conference at 2 is when all the action occurs, until you got a Fed chairman like Powell, and a lot of the action occurs after you start speaking. So you need to be aware of Fed meetings. And you can find Fed meetings, when the next ones are, by going to a good calendar, like an Echo calendar or something like that, or you go to actual government website that will give you dates, or the NASDAQ website, investing.com. A lot of people keep up with these big reports. But to make big money trading these big economic reports, I've developed a strategy that pays pretty good. And it's called the 25-cent trader. The reason I like to do low price options, because a lot of low price options turn into big price options after one of these reports. This month, Jonathan, we had 2, right? We made 100% on one, and 60 or 70% on the other option play, right? In the 25-cent trade. Is that right? Something like that, approximately?
Yeah, pretty close. We got a viewpoint of that here in just a few slides.
All right, let's just go.
All right, before
This program, what'd you say?
Yeah, Tom, before we get to the, your recent results, which are outstanding, you wanted me to put in a couple of slides here, so here they are.
Yeah, let me show you the background of this. Does everybody see this slide right here? Notice that most trade days, the market doesn't move a lot from dead center. And that's what those dots represent. It's the percentage movement that happens. And then you have a few days, you have big percentage movement, okay? Now, when it's between those lines, you don't want to be long options because it's moving less than 1% on these low price options. But the likelihood of it being greater than 1% occurs on these 5 major reports. And there's some technique involved, because that took me some experimentation to figure out the best time to enter these suckers and what kind of expiration dates to have. But there is some technique involved. But there are huge gains awaiting those people that are disciplined enough to wait for and pick the right ticker to do these trades. And like I said, this week and last week we had some good ones. But the 25-cent trader comes in a spotlight. We're getting set up to do another one, so they wanted me to talk about it. And you'll get a double or triple on these things sometimes. That just, if you put $1,000 at risk on a trade like this, you might end up with 3,000 or 4,000. How's that sound to everybody hitting one of those home run trades like that? And I had figured out a way to minimize it and create the opportunity for you to do it. 20%, 50%, all that. Now here's a trade that we did. We bought it at 27 cents and sold it at 40. That's a 48% return on risk. Another way to think about it, you put up $1,000, you make 480 bucks. You can take a small account and grow it pretty rapidly if you get a string of these things hitting. And right now, we've got a technique that I'm using that improves your reliability, and it's really paying off big. This was a trade we paid 24 cents for and sold for 46. That's a 92% return, okay? So this home run here is something good. So that means you had 1,000 in your account, now you got 1920. Pretty good stuff, huh? Well, we have perfected, I think, is about as good as you can get when it comes to trading, the art of trading these low price options. You also get a automatic exit plan for these trades. So if you put a trade on, we set the profit target so that trade will automatically close out once it hits our goal. And I recommend doing that, by the way. These things move pretty fast, faster than a speeding bullet. We also include a course on options, and we think that's great. You can't use OCO orders on these type options. Now, what I love about it is what she said. She's got a small account. She's been able to grow it risking a little bit of money and making a big reward. Pretty fast when they hit. Sue has a little fun doing it. Anyway, this is something that you might want to consider. I would suggest you try it for the next 60 days. You put up a couple $100, and you're going to get the trade that we pick out at our next entry point. Does everybody see how this works? It's not trading every day. It trades based off when these reports are. So next week, we're going to put out one of these trades. When are we going to put it out? Well, first you got to know when that 2 o'clock press conference is. Does everybody know when that is? Jonathan, you want to tell him?
Wednesday. And next
So the announcement will come on Wednesday. So we'll put that trade out on Tuesday afternoon. That's how it works. You think that's a fair deal to try this for a run around the park? $199 for 60 days? I think if I was out there and I wanted to speculate and get the art of learning about low price options. The other reason, if you're a seller options, you learn how to avoid those big losses by learning what moves the 25-cent trader. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Any questions anybody has? You know, one time I think I had like 100 of these suckers, and I was coming back from Georgia, and I paid 25 cents for it. And it was during a time the market really sold off while I was driving home. I was selling these options anywhere from $2 to $4, and I paid 25 cents for it. You talk about making an account grow fast, faster than a speeding bullet, as they say. It was fast. Got any questions, you call 904-706-3532. But I want to bring this to your attention, especially since we're talking about big reports and how to make money off big reports. Now, the last thing I want to do for your time today, I'm going to put out a trade, and we're going to tie this as in the TNT room. We'll put it there, and we're also going to put it as a bonus trade in the 25-cent trade. Why don't we do it that way? So let's wait about, what time is it? 3:35, Jonathan?
That's the time, 3:35. Yep. Got 25 minutes.
Yep. Any questions about joining the program? We'll track it in those two programs. Here it is, Jonathan. Let's first go showing how I got it. Hit the bring up, if you don't mind, the moneymaker.
Okay, what you want in the moneymaker?
Well, let's see here. Let's take this week's low, which is 64.89. Put that in the lower end. Okay, 64.89, and the high should be 66.05, right?
All right, these things are loading up. It's calculating out the data, and we'll see what everything says here. Based on 66.05 and 64.89.
And where is the TQQ?
TQQ's already spit out the data. It's got a 96.38 high, 90.78 low.
All right, go look at a 91. Let's go shopping for next Friday, a 91, 90.75 put if we sold it.
Well, the 91, 90.5 put spread for next Friday on the TQQQ is currently about 8 cents.
Okay, what is the 91.90?
The 91.90, the one wide is about 16 cents.
Okay, let's try to do that trade. Let's see if we sold it, just figure out our return. If we got $1 at risk and we've got 18 cents over 82 cents, that'd give us a 20% return, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if you were able to get 18 cents, it sounds close to that.
Why don't we try to do it at 18 cents, see if we can put it, and we'll put it in those two programs if it fills at 18 cents.
Okay.
So say maybe you get paid showing up to get educated. You saw how I did it. I took this week's low, picked the TQQ out and said I'll sell the 91.90 and I'll put it in TNT and I'll put it into a bonus trade for 25-cent trader. So either join TNT to follow and track it or join the 25-cent trader and have a little fun with it. Because we'll be putting out another trade on Tuesday, right, Jonathan?
Right.
Pretty cool. Yeah, leave the trade working. Don't take less than 18 cents because I'll probably do this trade tomorrow also if I don't get, I want 18 cents to try it. So if you did 10 of them and expired worthless, you'd have a free 60 days in the 25-cent trader. How you like that? Well, that's cool. All right, what do we got on the agenda tomorrow? Let's gin it up. What do we got for tomorrow?
For tomorrow, we have, let's see, Tom, there's at 11 o'clock, of course, is train and trade.
Okay. 2 o'clock, we got the retirement center.
Yeah, that's right. 2 o'clock retirement center, and then 3 o'clock weekly wrap up. The educational topic for tomorrow is how to turn a loss into a gain. You call it the switcheroo. Should be a good one.
Yeah. Perfect. And so did you do this on YouTube? Be sure to call it, the theme of this one today was the Delta 50. Delta 10.
Right. From now on, the train and trade videos, gonna have to brief Adam on this, but we're gonna make sure the title of the train and trade video is the topic, educational topic for today, or for that day.
Oh, okay. Perfect. All right. I think the market's headed to 66.05. Okay. So just for the fun of it, Jonathan, doing a little switch here for my futures people. Pull up an E-mini and do a Delta 10 strategy going out 10 days and see what prices you'd go with. How much it would cost you to play that.
Yes, options. Yes, options. You want to go out how many days?
10 days.
10 days. Okay. Well, we got a choice of 8 days and 11 days. What would you prefer?
11 days.
Okay, Delta 10. So the 6650 is the 48 Delta, and the 6680 is the 38 delta. Now the one you're buying costs about 46, give or take, and the one you're selling is about 30. So that's 16 times 50. That's $800, right? $800 for a Delta 10.
How much, what's the net difference between the two?
16 points.
$800.
Right. Yeah, and that's the E-mini options out 11 days, 6650, 6680. That Tom was just
Yeah,
here.
Polly, John, post that into my futures first, if you will, as a Delta 10 approach at the current
Okay.
level.
Yep, sure will.
All right, Polly, go look in your futures first, you'll see it. Set a target, if you will, at 50%, which would be whatever 50% would be. Exit the trade no later than Friday if you've not been paid. Everybody understand if they're in futures that tomorrow afternoon, if you don't hit your target, get out. News tomorrow. We got any news tomorrow to worry about? Kevin needs some help. He enrolled in Futures First. Jonathan?
Look, folks, the trade is just posted to the Futures First Telegram channel. I tried to be as specific as possible there. I typed it all out. Kevin, email me, DTI Trader, and today I'll get you the link to join the Telegram channel. Take a look, find out why you didn't get that email as well.
We got an end of year special. If anybody wants to learn about futures, can you get that link for people if they want to learn about futures between now and the end of the year?
Yeah, the link shouldn't have changed. It should still be DTI.
I did an end of year special because I really believe everybody ought to learn what I got to say about futures education wise. Talk about improving your results. When you tie that with the money maker, you're going to be unstoppable. I know some of you might want that. 6606 is my next target. And tonight, about 8:30 or 9, I will post tomorrow's most likely range starting off. Give you some ideas where everything stacks up starting off about 8 to 9. Moneymaker. That's a heck of a name. You gotta prove yourself every day you post something on the Moneymaker. Now you're a money loser. All right, let me summarize everything, and I think this is good for people, is that we taught you about Delta 50, Delta 10, key reports that moved the market more than 1%, strategies to take advantage of that, and then we talked about using the money maker to set a premium capture for next Friday and how to calculate the return if it went off. And then on the side, we talked about taking the Delta 10 strategy over to the E-mini market and see how that looked, just to give you some education that you can digest. And I strongly encourage you, if you've got any interest, we've got an end of year special on Futures First Education. You can go to the CME and you'll find that this education is very important, what the CME wants you to do. Educate yourself. What won't take your order? Anybody with a last name of Cooper, we're gonna help him, Jonathan.
Well, I won't take your order on what? Be a little more specific. Working a limit at 18 cents. If you're working a limit at 18 cents, correct, you would not have been filled yet. Work it until the close and then cancel. We'll reset it up tomorrow.
Jonathan, remind me about Reddit tomorrow. I got a trade on Reddit I've been wanting to do, and I keep forgetting to do it. I want to do it tomorrow.
Sounds good. Reddit or DDT.
See, old Tesla? Tesla is looking good, and TSLW is looking good too. The weekly pair. I get a kick out of getting that paycheck off those stocks.
Yeah, I can tell you do. Now,
I
Tom,
do. I mean, I'm not a dividend player per se, but Carol got me all fired up, bringing that to my attention.
now we got a more detailed video of Tom talking about the 25-cent trader. Does everyone want to listen to that? Type a yes into the chat if you want me to stream that over the next, I don't know, probably 30 minutes or so is what the video is, and I'll get that going for us in a few minutes. Type yes in the chat if you would like to hear more about Tom's 25-cent trader program. Yeah, we're live on YouTube. You can watch the replay on YouTube too if you can't stick around.
You know, most people don't think you can make money with 25-cent options. I agree with it on most days. 15 of the 20 days a month, you typically would make money with that strategy. But if you isolate your discipline and process to the 5 big reports, odds really go up dramatically. Lynn, eventually we'll have a catch-up move. It's just digesting. Yeah, it'd be about 725, Rob. Yeah, if you go back a year and look at the price action, the NVDW, Lynn, will be 120% up, and NVIDIA's up 100. It makes about a 20% more gain, not including the dividend. Pretty impressive, these dividend payers. Man, we're having a good day, Jonathan. I mean, I'm telling you, every time I look around, I say to myself, this is fun. This is what we decided to do, right, Jonathan? Have fun.
You got it.
Nothing like it. Are we at 6606? Almost. You got to tune in tonight at TNT to get my numbers for tomorrow. Somebody said they like my numbers. Delta 50. Oh, man. I'd say today was a green day, Jonathan. That's something we used to do all the time back in the early days.
Yeah, I believe you called it your green circle country, if I remember correctly.
Right. We used to plot that on the website. We'd have a green circle if we made money, and a red circle we lost money, and a yellow circle we didn't trade. Very rare we ever had a yellow circle. I think we traded every day. We just about did.
Back in simpler times, green, red, or yellow. That's all you got.
That's all we had back in those days. All right, well, I'm going to tell you, y'all have a good day. Timing is very important, Lynn. Never forget that. That's why when Wall Street said you couldn't market time, I said, bull. I learned how to do it. Starts out every day with that pivot number. John, remind me the next time we have a meeting, let's put pivot number as an educational piece, make sure people understand the power of that pivot every day. I couldn't trade without having it. That's what I get up early in the morning for, get my pivot established.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade without the pivot, that's for sure. It's so much clarity can be added with just one number.
Okay. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.
You're going to play something, right?
Yeah, let me fire that up. Let me fire that up. Thanks for a reminder. Sitting there answering questions.
That's what I'm here for, to assist you.
Let's see here.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining. We'll be getting started in just a couple of minutes.
All right, folks. Chance to trade the 25 mid-year market pivot using the same method, seen light and fast, doubles, even triples. You know, there's mandatory disclosure, profits and performance shown are not typical. Any individual subscriber make no future earning claims, and you can lose money. From March 28, 2024, July 21st, 2025 on live trade alerts, 62 total trade alerts with 41 wins, 21 losses. The average trades we run and winners losers found was 2%. We cannot guarantee any specific future results as there's always a high degree of risk involved in trading. See our terms on the DTI homepage. Now, take a good look at that quarter. It might just be the most powerful trading tool in the entire market if you have the right timing. You see, what most folks are paying $500 or $1,000 or even more to trade popular stocks like Apple, Nvidia, or Microsoft. I've discovered a way to tap into what could be the cheapest options on the market. This is what I love about it. Love, love, love. Trade only costs 25 cents an option. And by entering on certain predetermined dates, we've been able to watch as these 25-cent trades double or even triple in what feels like no time. Like the quick double in November, 104% gain there, 182% gain in January, tripled in there in March, 214%. Telling you you're going to love it. Now, I don't like to brag. I like to be confident, but this is hardly my first rodeo. In 1992, I was one of the only 50 professionals to be handpicked by the CME to receive my own Globex terminal, the front runner to electronic trading. Those were the days. And I even helped manage firms so successfully, it was eventually bought out by the 1.3 trillion institution, Morgan Stanley. And while I've been very selective about who gets access to these 25-cent trade alerts, our students have access to these 25-cent trades and are raving about them when they set up. Like John, I love the 25-cent trades for someone with a small account. Love the fact that I can trade more than a couple contracts. Makes it feel like Mr. Big. Or Jim T. Loves making money with the 25-cent trades. Did 400% on one. That's 5 times the original investment. Oh, Carlos May. These are hot little trades. Now, if you're trying to guess specific opportunity behind the 25-cent trades, hang tight for just a moment, because we're not talking about trading penny stock. We're talking about big companies, public companies, and setups. We're not talking about risky earnings plays. Think about the people that got killed yesterday in Amazon. And certainly we're not talking about trading complex spreads, naked options, or anything like that. That's the beauty of it. As a matter of fact, each and every trade example was here today could have been taken any regular brokerage account. No specific heavy duty lifting there. Trading the most basic form of call options available, as long as the 25-cent trade is set the day before one of these predetermined dates. 5 big reports every month, and that's when the magic happens. And today I'm doing something that we actually never thought we'd actually do. You know, usually most people like me would never trade these options so cheap, but I figured out a strategy that works at selected times. And that's because these types of speculative options typically lose money for investors. But thanks to the recent discovery, led by myself and the help of 3 financial experts on my team, my whole perspective shifted 180 degrees. That's because only trading these 25-cent options on very specific predetermined dates, shot to jump in and really hit good. 78.3% hit rate according to the full back test. For example, like back in January. Now, if you're looking at the chart, the S&P 500 was roaring higher. I remember it. By mid-January, at new highs, and folks were left guessing if the breakout would continue or would make a natural pullback. Now, you could spend your whole time drawing all these chart patterns, calculating Fibonacci's, reading through endless inflation reports, or trying to guess what would come next. But on January 10th, none of that really mattered, because January 10th was a predetermined date marked down on the calendar. That's the beauty of this. You can plan this out. And as long as someone took 30 seconds to place the trade before the markets closed, a basic call option would work. 194% on that. Now, as great as that is, it gets even better, because the next day, on January 11th, was marked on the calendar too, 23% on that one. And here's what came next, 264% gain. This already gets your attention. That could have been enough to triple the investment on one trade. It wouldn't cost folks hardly anything to get in on the play. Say you started with a small $500 investment on 25-cent trades, you would have had $22.93 in profit. Might not sound like life-changing, but it sure is good, and it's something to go to. That's definitely no chump change either. As a matter of fact, the average Joe only brings in about $6,700 a month. That's pre-tax. Average monthly expenses for American families are hitting $8,454. It doesn't get any lower. And according to these statistics, the average American household starts each month minus $1,746 in the hole. Don't want to be that. Most people are sliding backwards financially. Here's 2 gains here, 194 and 264. You see they're huge percentage gains. That's the beautiful thing about scaling this. 22.93 in profit, just 2 of the trades that month. Keep in mind that we've seen 3 times the amount of opportunities in January, 4-digit wins there. Look at those gains. Wow. And now you probably wonder what exactly is going on. What are these predetermined dates that allows this kind of movement? Well, finer details on how these 25-cent trades work in just a moment. Plus a handful of you will be able to grab. This is what's great. Having this calendar in advance. All the predetermined dates are set to pay out big, and we'll reveal a top secret bonus trade that costs even less than 25 cents. Before we get there, I must be frank. Hey, I'm not typically a swing for the fences type guy. That's because, as you know, as I showed you, all trades have winners and losers, and typically even the best swing for the fences strategies out there take the biggest and most frequent losses. Now, if you know me, I don't like big risk. That's why I built my career focused on high actually opportunities day in and day out with my usual approach, targeting, just like yesterday, 10 or 20% per trade. And now that I've helped some top students reach jaw-dropping goals from my various research programs, here's some of the best stories. 135 by Manny O at his 5th win in trading. Or Laura, 2,200 in profit, using some of the most basic things she's learned. Denise said she's had nothing but winning trades. Way to go, Denise. Up until now, shooting for 10, 20 profits over and over again. It's really high win rate has been my bread and butter. But today I'm finally back, pulling back the curtain for a very different style of trading. Thanks to these predetermined dates, there's 5 of it in a month. Then you add in the Fed, get a few extra. While at the same time giving us unlimited upside on these short-term moves. Combination of win rate plus upside is in our back test showing the power scale even a small account quicker than anything else I've seen before. And simply by following along with these predetermined dates listed on the calendar right there, these 25-cent trades have a chance to double, even triple extremely fast. For example, like the very next 25-cent trade opportunity in January, while most people were probably searching the internet to see some expert opinions on what the stock market would do next, anyone with their hands on the calendar could have ignored all that nonsense and glanced at January 17th predetermined date circled. That's what's the beauty of it. You plan your month. Click a few buttons in the account, set your trade, 101.8% gain on that one. This is not hard work, but you have to know the strategy and the times in the month when they set up. Just check the calendar, place the trade, as long as the trade was entered on the date listed on your calendar before the market's closed. You completely ignored what other people are doing. You're out there, tuned out the herd, just relaxed and enjoyed your life. Hey, there I am throwing a little football with my grand. Or going golfing in the evening. If everything worked out, watch the initial investment more than double, 24 hours. In this case, 2,500 on that one would have turned into a $5,000 profit. Now I keep talking about these predetermined dates and how they give you the exact minute to get in and lock in what could be the double, even triple on these reports. Well, there's definitely what we're aiming for. I want to remind folks, we don't have a magic 8 ball. We can't predict the future. Just like with any strategy, there will be winners and there will be losers. So never bet the farm. That said, there's a reason I tell my students to only take 25-cent trades on these specific dates. Take a look at that eye-opening graph. This is when the movement comes and the explosion happens on these reports. Looking at the S&P percentage movement every day for the past 10 years, plotted on the chart. Notice that chart. Each individual dot represents a single day. Now, between the two lines is the number of days where the S&P moved less than 1%. The majority of days, that's when you're going to lose. But when it moves outside those lines, most likely time for it to happen is on these big reports. That's when you're at. As you can see from a quick look, the stock market is flat about 70% of the time. And that's because most of the time, S&P 500 is not a ton of market moving action. That means every 7 out of 10 trading days, the market's stagnant, options are eating time decay, and you're paying for it. Mercantile says 70.6.5% of options expire worthless. And now that if you've been trading or investing for a while now and have struggled to make consistent profits, this might be the reason. Or if you watch the markets go higher and higher all while your retirement account barely budged an inch, not because you're a bad trader, you just simply don't have the right information. The problem is the majority of the time, the stock market barely moves. That's what crushes most trading accounts. However, if you pay attention to this chart, you unlock this gold mine that I've discovered. You strike, and as soon as you'll see these dates when some of the biggest moves in the stock market are not random at all. In fact, they're all predetermined weeks in advance on a calendar, just like this one. And on these predetermined dates, we've seen these inexpensive, dirt cheap options double, even triple, sometimes overnight. Just like in February, the biggest payday we've seen so far from 25-cent trade. And keep in mind that February, most of us are still holding their breath, waiting for the Fed cut interest rates, still holding that breath. That's because for months Wall Street's been baking in interest rate cut. But the Fed had other plans. Typically, that news would make you want to sell your stock when they don't act. But then when it had the calendar, February 21st date circled, you would have been able to take this strategy to the bank. Because sure enough, the very next day, 391% gain. Take a look at that one. Now, again, that's the biggest one we've seen so far from study. I'll remind you that no strategy is perfect. There's going to be big wins, small wins, and losers along the way. That's just how trading works. But today, we're going to hold nothing back. We'll share with you every detail behind the back test we ran. The 25-cent trader immediately gets started on it because Wall Street thinks that monumental place. We found this strategy, this nice place that we can go to and become even more reliable than ever before. In a minute, I'll share exactly what I'm doing. But first, let me explain what's really going on. Every month, there's a handful of key reports published by the U.S. government that can move the market. Probably heard of them. Unemployment, we had that today. The next up on the agenda is CPI and PPI, then GDP, PCE, all that. And then if you have a Fed meeting, that's icing on the cake. Now, these reports are typically published in the morning before the opening bell. And as I'll show you, they're set up most lucrative trading days we've seen all year long. Take a look at this 25-cent trade one day before these market moving reports hit the press. In a blink of an eye, just like that. Sometimes you get a double, triple on these reports. Take a look at the next 25-cent trade from Study Market on February 28th. Paid 21 cents for that one. Got in at a discount, didn't we? That next morning at 8:30, just before the stock market was open for a day, the jobless claims report was published. And by the time the opening bell rang, the S&P immediately shot higher, and 5,000 in shares would have pocketed a nice 550 overnight. But if you took a 25-cent trade with the same starting state, look what you'd have made, $2,381 on the same direction, just using a smarter way to approach it with options. About 16 times better than buying the shares outright, and only 1/20th the cost per position. And based on what our beta testers have said, and even people that have been issued these trades, it doesn't seem challenging at all to take it. Like Tina and Peggy, who wrote the 25-cent trades, they love them, easy to get into, easy to get out to. You know when you're going to be out, have the money for other trades ready and available. Or Tim, who wrote in 25-cent options, a low risk but highly profitable trade, easy to understand. Let me show you another example. Same exact case with the next setup marked on the calendar, March the 6th. On March the 6th, folks didn't have much confidence in the stock market. The S&P 500, NASDAQ were all losing steam, falling north of 1% in a day. Sure, a lot of folks would have still cleared the stock market on a day like that. Hey, I'm unlike a lot of people. All you had to do was set the 25-cent trade on that day that the calendar so identified, and that would have gotten folks in the U.S. government publish their newest jobless claims report the next morning, maybe grabbed a dinner with an old friend or relative. By the time the opening bell rang, pop, 134.7. Pretty cool. Now, we typically get a handful of these major economic reports each month. Each one presents a trading opportunity. The criteria that we've come up with works. In fact, these dates are so powerful they make up almost all the opportunities in the stock market. You're going to be shocked when you see this chart. Look at that chart right there. Most people know the S&P 500 is in a new bull market, an extremely hot run. But most people don't realize is, if you highlight these major economic report dates I've been talking about all day long, go where the action is. Let's remove those from market moving days. Chart becomes totally dismantled, going from unstoppable bull market to sideways action. Nothing. And as you can see, trading outside these predetermined dates is a dangerous time and a fast track losing money by buying options. If you're trading options, and by only isolating these explosive dates, that's where the money's made. And that's why I've developed a special calendar with all these dates mapped out in advance. You know when they are, you know when the setup comes, plus critical instruction on how to set the trades for optimum results. Be part of this program today and have total access to the whole world of trading small price options. And all left to do is take a quick trade on dates shown if you want to. Like this one here on July the 26th, a 54% gain. December 20th, 152% gain. Or May 24th, a 334% gain. Oh, it's fun. That's $10,000, $867.50 in less than 24 hours. Now, can't retire on the money with that kind of money. It would definitely be a nice buffer to pay off maybe a car loan, plan a next vacation, or just save for a rainy day. There's some serious financial cost here. You saw the way they're rising. It could have been listed in 24 hours. I have to admit, after seeing the power of these predetermined dates on the chart, you ought to see it too. That's where the action is. Almost seems foolish to trade any other way when you're playing this strategy. But now you might be wondering, can you go ahead and pick any option every time one of these dates pop up? Of course not, folks. If it were that easy, everyone would be doing it. You got to have all the pieces of the pie. My team has developed a very strict set of criteria to give you an edge on these market moving days. We filter out a lot of information, the week's open, the month's high, average trading range. Then we sort through the options to find the optimum expiration strike price, always around 25 cents per option. And then we set the trade with outline profit targets, stop loss levels ready to go. We do all the heavy lifting, and we take care of setting it up for you, teeing it up for you. All you got to do is take the trade. Actually, following along with the trade is no more difficult than riding a bike, using basic call or put options to access that direction, access it in your regular broker account, 401k or IRA. And I simply can't keep these 25-cent trades quiet any longer. Learn how to do it. Especially as we see huge market moving events multiplying before our very eyes. So from the private trade alerts for about we're actually outperforming testing so far. Monica wrote, she loves the 25-cent option plays. They're affordable, quick to produce, and usually give you 100% of profit. That's the goal. You're having big hits here. Like Doug, 400% gain on his, high reward, low cost of entry. Or David, here's another one. Pretty accurate, quick, clean reward. These are incredible stories. I can't wait to hear from the new traders like you to join today. You see, there's a giant shift on Wall Street I firmly believe will make these opportunities more lucrative, and you really can't afford to miss this time around. First, if you'd like to be on the next 25-cent trade, plus access your copy of the password protected calendar with all the dates listed, let me hear from you this very minute. You're serious about doing it. Today, you could be on a few people that we're going to let into explosive 25-cent trades. Each, when they set up, we call it the 25-cent trader. Only place in the world I know that focuses on this segment of the option market, shooting for the next double or even triple. Once you claim the discounted spots we've identified you're ready to go. You get into the channel, you're ready to go. Then we look at the next day, we're ready to rock, we're ready to roll all day long. In the same trades, I'd recommend anybody that wants to do this strategy. Inside the alert, you get everything I believe you need to place to trade. You see the date that it's identified. It talks about the report, when to get in, when to get out, the ticker that we're going to use, the analysis that got us here, plus the 25-cent option criteria. All you do, copy trade, have a shot at what could be the next great win. 180% gain, like January 31st, or 2,500 on this one. Yeah, $4,500 overnight. That'll make you smile. Now you get your exit alert as well when we close out. That way you're never left in the dark, and make sure that you always get instant access to Signal. I'll be sending you alerts via email, cell phone, and telegram. 3 ways to make sure you get the trade. Now, whether you're at the beach with friends, out playing a little golf, talking at a seminar, you'll never miss out. You just want to place a trade before the market closes. That's the key, and then you're all set before that report. That brings me to the next piece of your membership. System is designed with very specific entry prices, stop losses, and profit targets. Always going for optimum gains while avoiding holding on the losers for too long. That's the big benefit. come back to play again. I call it automatic exit plan with the 25-cent options. That way you set the trade, walk away to enjoy whatever you want to do, and even include exclusive information on automatically how to reduce your risk. But not just that. I know some of you might be new to trading. This is a great way to have some big gains to talk about. First of all, I want to rest assured that in 25-cent trader, we use the most basic form of options available. I usually don't use spreads, condors, or nothing like that. It's a straight out, let's get it. That said, I'm including a special trade. I'll teach you options all the way from the rookie level to pro level in case we want to use it. The course is called Options Made Simple, a course that we put together over about 6 to 8 months. It's the best course I know out there with strategies, how to tie the strategies to whatever is happening in the market. We give it to you as part of your subscription. There's a reason I included in-depth training. Since the 2020 pandemic, we've seen these major economic reports only more and more impactful, especially the higher you go. You see that, with the higher you go, you get more bang for your buck. And these predetermined dates have only gotten more powerful as time goes on. Well, I think Wall Street's got it figured out. That's why you've seen them leverage short-dated options at a rate like any other time in history. And now most folks have no clue how to use their highly leveraged options. I'll show you how. And I'll show you how we can plan to use them to target doubles, even triples on these predetermined dates. Especially if folks have already seen the 25-cent at work. You become a believer real quick. Like Rhonda, 25-cent options and small account friendly, risk small, great reward. Or Bruce, 25-cent trade in less than 24 hours to see results. Fun to take a trade. Love the wins, keep it coming, according to Sue. You could charge anything you wanted to for this kind of membership. It's very detailed from that standpoint. The work is done for you. It's teed up for you. And you have to pass or say, I'm taking it. So what are we thinking on the price for elite membership? They want to go high, $69.97 per year. With the potential, it's there. Let's do something fun and cut the price in half to $34.97. Since we're live, I like to make things a lot more palatable when I'm live. It gets even better. Here's some special bonuses lined up for new members. Join the Lifetime Elite Member Discount. Do it today. That's bonus number 1. Lifetime Elite Membership for anybody that wants to take it right here in the room. I'll knock off $1,000 off the price of the membership. So $34 for 1 year is a heck of a deal, but $24.97 for life is a steal. Drop that link, boys and girls. Drop that link. If you're one of our elite members here today, it won't run you $24.97. That brings me to my final bonus. Hit the ground running faster than you ever could imagine. $25 per maximum on these options. Or to get up on your feet, start a lap ahead of everybody else. Your first 50's on me, cuts the price down $1,250 more. This is lifetime. That's right, lifetime. $1,247, one price, and you're in for life. This deal is only good for members who jump in right now while I'm live. We're going to take it down. If you wait too long, you'll be outside looking in and pass that first trade that we're going to do. You read my emails about the epic results we're getting with new members. Do not procrastinate. Never procrastinate. Take one of the discounted memberships for yourself. Go to dtitrader.com/25cents, or you can call 904-706-3532 if you got any questions. Click the link in the chat. There it is. Special surprise for those that join today. dtitrader.com/25cents. Or you, like I said, you can call 904-706-3532. Again, $1,247 lifetime deal for elite members today. It's ready to go. It's ready to fly. Let's do it. Hey, I've done it, and I have to admit, it's pretty special to be a 25-cent trader. There's one I did right there. Got in at $27.49 just to show somebody I was demonstrating how powerful they are. We're from 1166 overnight on that one. Starting right now, jump in. Don't wait. It's very, very weak. Don't miss a new trade this week. Go to dtitrader.com/25 cents, or like I said, you can call. This is a lifetime membership. I want to do that. VIP, get on the same experience that some of our students have had. They love how quickly they work. 4x times 25, you can do the math yourself, according to what Dave said. Patrick loves these trades for a small account. 25-cent trades. Hey, this is pretty good stuff here. As Brian said, many more stories just like those. Go ahead and grab your 25-cent VIP trader, dtitrader.com/25 cents. Got any questions, ask them now. I'll answer them. Ask questions about when we do it and how we do it. Every day you got a live room you can go to and ask about questions, the trades that we did, what happened and all that. Hey, let's answer some common questions. Question on how much money is it? Well, the trades are down at 25, the price of 25 cents for an option. Being able to pick those takes something special. $25 a contract. No strategy wins 100% of the time, though. You've got to be aware. But according to our test and the work we've done, be part of it. Profitable for those that stick to the discipline. We can play the market either up or down. That's the beauty of it. And you're not holding long periods of time. You get your money back after about 72 hours. Can you trade this in IRA? Of course you can. It's retirement account friendly. Now what's the next one? Hey, you'll get that information when you join. Go to your membership, read the master classes. The 25-cent options are so explosive. Don't miss the next trade next week. Go to dtitrader.com/25 cents, or you can call and get questions answered. Folks, you will find that 25 cents an option, you really get to have nerves of steel. It really, I've seen people do really well when they only got $25 exposed or a multiple thereof. Something about it. Hey, 10 contracts is only $250, right? Okay, there you go. Playing with the big boy. So folks, this is what we're going to do. I want you to get by. Anybody got any questions at all? We've been here all day with you today. I hope you take me up on this lifetime opportunity in the 25-cent trader. I think you're going to find you made a good decision, number one. And I remember in August, I was driving back from Georgia, okay? And when I was driving back from Georgia, I had an option I paid 25 cents for. The sucker was $4.50 on the road. I remember going down the highway thinking, I need to pull over and take some profit on this sucker. Anyway, what size account do you need? Man, 2,000 is plenty. Think about how many options you can buy at 25 cents for 2,000 if you really press the bet. That's pretty good. How long do you stay in the trade? No more than 72 hours. No more. Win, lose, or draw. No more. If you know how to put in a call option, you know how to put in a put option, very simple when these set up. And you got the calendar to know those dates in advance. I'll be right there with you to go through it with you to make sure you get it, get you in, get you out, and do it. If you're new to trading, will it work for you? Absolutely, it'll work for you. Matter of fact, it's a great way to take a small account and grow it. 25 cents, that's not much, but I like it. You know, I wanted to do this because I typically will, you know, my favorite price option is about 3. I like $1 options with spreads and that kind of stuff, but 25-cent option, come on. Learning my technique, you've got the odds in your favor. I guess that's the best statement I can make about it, getting those odds in your favor. You saw what happened when you get that movement. If you get that movement, that's when you rack up. And the movement happens during usually one of those big reports, like we had today. If there's someone if needs help Is there someone standing by to help you? Absolutely. Absolutely. We don't leave you hanging. You need help, we'll show you how it works. Pretty cool stuff, though, I can tell you that. You know? Any other questions? I know one thing. I think I might do one today, especially with what happened. Okay, in this market kicking the month. What's the be a good time to do one? What do you think? Let's do one.